Three, two, one. All right, Anthony F here. Uh, Stiggy, is that what we're calling you tonight? I forgot.
Pretty much anything. It doesn't matter.
I
Shane,
forgot.
Stiggy.
I forgot to ask you that. All right,
My
Shane.
my handle on everything is Stiggy, but I go by Shane in all of my videos, so it
Okay.
doesn't really matter.
All right, Shane, aka Stiggy. I'm gonna read his whole lower third there. He's from fanatixinc.com. This is mobile. What are we calling this?
Mobile Tech Fanatics.
Is at the bottom. Mobile Tech Fanatics. This is episode 3. Last week was episode 2, as I think in the notes, but we weren't quite sure. Actually, I was confused. So this is the third episode with the Mobile Tech Fanatics. We renamed it because we want to share this video show with both of our channels. Right now, we're actually on a 30-second delay also. Let's see if that helps with our quality and anything else. I forgot to mention that. So right off the bat, we're going to talk about how we're Mobile Tech Fanatics now because we're merging our two shows together. We're going to alternate every other week. Last week was Shane's turn. This week is mine. And we're going to talk about the latest mobile tech news. You're also I threw an invite out there on Google+, so if you want to jump on, feel free to ask any questions that is sane and that is mobile tech related. Glad to
Or tech
answer any of
related.
those.
We could probably expand if you have some tech question
Oh
too as
yeah,
well.
oh yeah. I mean, if you have a question, you need help, then we're there for you, obviously. All right. So Shane, we were talking about before we started the modular phone. Just a gist. What is that?
I read like into 2 seconds of the article, but basically what I understood it to be is it's going to be a phone that you can actually replace the parts in it to upgrade it. So I think it's maybe geared more towards developers who don't want to continue to spend the $300 or $400 every year for a Nexus device, or in this year was what, a $600 device. I believe it's going to be something they can just buy. Say the new Snapdragon comes out and you need that for your phone for testing, you just buy that instead, and then it will. Then you won't have to upgrade the whole phone. You just upgrade individual parts. I believe was what I understood. I could be totally wrong. So if anybody out there knows for sure, like I said, I just seen it and I thought we should mention that we know about it. However little we know. Um, but it sounds like a pretty cool idea. I'd probably like to have one. I like the idea of being able to upgrade. It's like a computer. Right now all of our phones kind of mimic laptops where you can't. I mean, you can update them, but they're not easy. This would be more like a desktop where you could update it yourself pretty easily.
Okay, that's a very good point. I think this is the second time we've seen mention of a modular kind of phone. I think Google's working on one. I think this one that we're talking about now is an independent company, but basically, is you could replace the parts. And I was wondering, like you gave me the answer. I was wondering why would we need that kind of thing so that it could fall apart while we're trying to use it. But for a developer, this is perfect because he can make sure that his apps and his software works on the latest hardware. So you just buy the new chip, CPU chip, pop it in. Buy the new GPU chip, pop it in. New antenna, new LCD, I
Bluetooth.
suppose. Yeah, and the latest Bluetooth, wireless, Wi-Fi, all those technologies that come usually in the hardware part, antenna or something like that. You can pop it in the base phone and still test the software. And I think that would be a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I really like the idea of being able to replace parts because here's the deal. Like, and as a developer, testing is uh, imperial. It's the most important thing you can do is to test your app before it goes out. And if you're running on 2-year-old software, you can't test the new software and make sure it works. Sure, in theory, we can tell Eclipse or Android Studio to be sure to include all versions of Android, but without being able to test it, you won't really know. And I really like the idea of being able to do that in a developer standpoint.
that is very true, very true. So from there, that would be great if they actually did that. Um, okay. So what I'm holding here is a very unusual phone from a very unusual company. This company is Japanese, and you usually don't see too many Japanese devices, phone-wise, that are here in the States. So this here is the Sharp Aquos Crystal from Boost Mobile. Believe it or not, we want to thank them for sending one for us to review. And this thing is very odd. As you can see, it's no bezel here on the screen here, but on the bottom, I don't know what this is. You got here, it looks like an actual a
It's a
front-facing
trackpad.
camera. As a trackpad.
No, it
I was
looks
like,
like a
wow.
giant trackpad.
Most people on YouTube really get upset at me because I would do a first look review of a phone that I get straight from the carrier, and I usually don't know what this phone is about, specs or anything, and it drives the people crazy. They comment about it, but I want to let you know that I got it, and then let you know that we're going to talk about it more. So, okay, I have it. I don't know what this thing is about. It's very unusual. So look out for another video later once I do research on it and test it, find the price on it, and see if it's really worth it. That's what I usually do in the end. I do a segment called Is It Worth It? And usually that's where all the information comes. The first time I say, hey, look at this thing. What is it? And it drives the people crazy on YouTube. But don't worry, we'll figure it out together, folks.
And I'm guessing you don't have any specs on that then?
No. It's 5 inches, I think. Just looking at this box doesn't say anything for real, yo. I think on the website it said it was 5 inches. That's all I can tell you, really, honestly. I mean,
Well,
here's a,
there's something. It's a 5-inch phone.
I know. Here's the Note 2, and here's the Sharp. So yeah, the screen might be 5 inches, but we'll find out more later. But I just want to show you that we got it, and it's a very unique looking phone. Start the conversation. So how do you feel about that, Shane? You think we should see more Japanese phones in the States?
I want to, yeah. The Japanese have always been on the edge of just about everything. If you look at their culture and the things that go on in Japanese, if you look at Japanese fashion, it's insane. So, they're always on the bleeding edge of whatever's brand new and whatever's super cool. So, I would love to see more Japanese phone. First off, that gives us more options. For those people who want options, there's your options right there. Japanese can make 4 or 5 different types of phones. Where right now we're kind of stuck with HTC, Samsung, LG, Motorola, Nokia.
Mm-hmm.
You've got those brands, but I want to see some smaller brands come in. HTC used to be the smaller brand. It was the lesser known brand. We need another brand like that people can kind of, help rise. And I really like pretty much all the Japanese phones and tablets that I've ever seen. Even the super cheap ones have always been great and, have always lasted a long time.
Yeah, I actually answered a question on Quora that had asked, and it seemed to be an honest question. They were saying since the Chinese government is more than likely spying on us, should we use Chinese devices or should we use another nationality device? And I'm not sure how I came across because, as we mentioned before, everything comes from China. Let me say it again. Everything comes from China. Apple phones come from China. Um,
I would imagine even Japanese phones probably are built in China.
Now, that's a good question. When I say everything, I mean all of the major things. Of course, HTC is from Taiwan, which is under Chinese, jurisdiction. But then we have Samsung, which is South Korean. We have LG, which is South Korean. And then we have Sharp and some of the lesser-known names that we see. That Sharp is from Japan. So for the most part, most of the devices are manufactured in China and then sent here. So in the end, I said, yes, try, Sony. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I said, yes, try the Sony Xperia. Of course, now, Sony was hacked. Sony was hacked. Not just, their video game stuff. The Sony company was hacked. And supposedly social security numbers of the employees, of the actors that were on Sony movies was displayed. So I don't know if you even want to use Sony right now. But what I was looking for, I'm here on so you can see it, Keiko, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and I just saw that a Korean idol girl group actually has emoticons. I don't see it here. I'm trying to find them, but according to the video, you can actually put a Girls' Day singer in your message conversation, and they would hop, dance, do sad things according to the emoticon. And I thought that was pretty crazy because I've never seen that before. But that just shows the potential and technology that you can do with instant messaging. That's pretty cool. How you feel about that, Shane?
Uh, I don't know. I'm not a huge emoji person. I have heard of these. Like, I know there was an app on iPhone, and I haven't had a chance to try it, but it's like Make Emoji or something like that, or some. Anyways, you can take a picture of anything and turn it into an emoji. But it's only both. I believe both people have to have the app installed. I believe I could be totally wrong. Have to have the app installed, but I'm not sure, and I'm not even sure exactly how emojis work. I don't know if I send you an emoji that's preloaded in Hangouts and you use the default messaging app on Android. Can you still see that emoji, or does it show up as something else?
There are some universal emojis that does go cross platform, I believe.
So probably not. So these probably would not, and I would guess that you both need something on both ends of your phone to understand this dancing emoji or whatever.
Probably. In order, if they're smart. I mean, the whole object of anything is to have people in on your platform in your environment. So more than likely, even though the emoji that I was looking for Girls' Day only works on Keiko, so you have to buy into the Keiko environment, use the Keiko device, and have all your friends on Keiko, and that's what the company wants you to do because that keeps them fed. So doesn't make it's not good, it's not bad. I do want to touch on the OnePlus One new information. I want to apologize because I have been calling them the OPPO, when they are not from that company. They're a totally separate company from OnePlus One. The information that Sign Jamal sent to me last week was for the OnePlus One. Last week I mentioned in our talk that they were going to support, Sign Man was going to support the OnePlus One to give it Android 5.0 or their version of it. And looking at Reddit today, there was an interview with the co-founder and a couple of guys that were in charge of the ROMs. Excuse me. So the co-founder, his name is Carl. He says we confirmed this was signage earlier today. I don't know why it says earlier today when last week we gave this information. As long as they have the global version, they should get the update. So if you have the global version of the OnePlus One, you are okay. You will get updates still. The issue is when it comes to the Indian one. So if you scroll down, one person asked, so what about the exclusive deal with Micromax? Because CyanogenMod now will be on Micromax in India. Well, let's see here. Another one of the workers there says it only applies to the India model that won't get CM. Every other model, Chinese and international, will continue to get updates and support. So as we thought in the beginning, Shane, we were saying that it doesn't make sense for Cyanogen Inc. not to support their people. So they're going to support their existing customers that has a OnePlus One international version and Chinese version. It's just that when it comes to the Indian version, I don't believe CyanogenMod will be on it. So OnePlus One will have to have another version on there. But when it comes to Micromax, they will have full CyanogenMod support in India. How do you feel about that?
I mean, we touched base on this pretty heavily last episode, and my concept is still the same. They're going to support their customers because that's how they get fed, and I would imagine that if you are in India and you are looking at getting a OnePlus One. Get the international, get it unlocked, and use it on your carrier. I believe that pretty well all the international phones will work in pretty well all places of the world. I know a lot of people here in America have bought international phones and used them. You know, they have to get them unlocked, which isn't hard. You know, you can usually do it yourself, or some companies are out there doing it now, unlocking phones for a small fee. So you might look into that if you're in India and you want the OnePlus One, or hang out and wait for whatever CyanogenMod's planning on putting out in India with this new deal that they made with what company was Mac
Micromax.
Micromax. You know, because it may be better than the OnePlus One, and you may want it more. So at this point, if you're in India, it may be best to wait. Just kind of chill and relax, and kind of see what becomes of this whole Micromax thing. But in the end, they're going to support, I would imagine, most of their devices as best as they can.
Yeah, yeah. And the next topic we have, let me see where this came from. This came from Ryan Fogdener, the Los Angeles Times, where he reports that older viewers are abandoning TV in favor of phone and computer. How you feel about that?
Oh, I don't think that it's necessarily true. I really do like my TV. I like, you know, bigger the better. You know, if I'm going to watch a movie, I want surround sound. I want big screen. I want the lights turned off. I want it to, you know, I want it to be a surreal experience. When I'm watching it on my phone, it's usually because I'm in the car traveling. Why would I, you know, I'm not going to sit on the couch and use my phone to watch a TV, you know, a Netflix episode when there's a TV right there. I think maybe they're seeing a spike in TV watching on phones because they're always with us. So that means I can watch it at work while I'm, you know, not on my lunch break or whatever, or you know, you can watch it in the car when you're driving or on the plane when you're flying. So I believe that's maybe where they're getting some of this. I don't know what their sources are, how they came up with this information, but I don't know too many people that would trade their smartphone in for a TV, or your TV in for a smartphone. I mean, that seems kind of silly when it comes to movie watching, because while the Note 4 is a great thing to watch videos on, it's a tiny screen. It's not the same experience. So I think I don't, like I said, I don't know where they got their information from, but I think it may have been a little bit jaded.
Yeah, yeah, I agree because the TVs still rule. I mean, even with buying consoles for game consoles, it took me a while to decide what kind of game console to get because I want to make sure that it works with my TV and that it plays all the shows that I watch online. So it is great that the phones and tablets do play the apps, Hulu, Netflix, Crunchyroll, and you can watch TV on there. But really, I think it's even better that our game consoles and smart TVs and the Roku boxes and the Google Chromecast, that they play things same as the phone plays on the TV. Now, I'm curious because, like you said, whatever they're checking, whatever they're looking at, they could be seeing the Chromecast and the HD sticks, and their research and not even be knowing. Because, like you said, I rarely watch TV from my phone unless I am in a place that is inaccessible from a TV. I mean, if you're in a waiting room, you're probably watching the TV that's up there in the waiting room. You won't watch TV on the screen on the phone because that would be disturbing others. At first, I thought maybe because it was the older ones at doctor's appointments watching TV on their phone. But really, there's a TV in every doctor's office. Has to be. And usually there's news or something to watch, so I don't think that's it. Yeah, I agree with you, Shane. I'm not sure where they're getting the information from, but it is interesting. Go ahead.
And given the chance to watch the oldies channel on the doctor's TV or watch my phone, I'm still going to watch that old TV show on the TV just because it's easier.
Yeah.
And like you said, it won't disturb anybody. So I really think their information's a little bit jaded. I don't know. I guess it could be true, but I find it hard to believe.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So this is Kevin C. Toffel from GigaOM, as a good guy. He reports that T-Mobile postpones the LTE Nexus 9 launch, and there's no new date in sight. How do you feel about this Nexus launch? It's not really doing as good as they thought it would be with the updates and the launches and all. How do you feel about that?
I think they let the horses out of the gate before they were trained.
Uh,
I don't believe that they were ready for this. I think it was one of those deals. They were meeting a deadline and they shoved it out the door without it being fully completed. But I think T-Mobile is the last one out of the stable, and they're going to suffer for it. They really should have tried to launch when everybody else did. Um, I'm sure they were trying to keep quality control in mind, but I just don't think it was worth it. They should have just went ahead, because AT&T, you could have already gotten it, I think, and I don't think it's in stores right now. But I remember when I went down to look at some stuff down at the AT&T store, there was a sign saying they were available like next week or something like that. So you may not be able to get any of them in any store right now, but T-Mobile kind of messed up because they haven't got any out at all. So.
wow. Yeah, I have no leniency for this. I work in a corporate world where people bring their own devices, and we recommend some and we don't recommend others. But we test, we test, we test, we test, and we let them know what they can and cannot bring to work. But this is a carrier whose sole job is to sell us mobile devices. So I can't believe that the Nexus 9 caught them by surprise, you know. And if the LTE technology just gives them an issue, once again, I can't. And even now that you said that AT&T has them, it's the same technology, different frequency. So I really don't know what's going on with T-Mobile. I have some T-Mobile contacts. I haven't contacted them lately because they don't like me anymore. But I might reach out to them to see what's going on because it's just crazy. What else you have in mind, Shane?
Uh, to the other day on one of my videos, well, it's actually an older video. I have a super user app review, and someone posted on there. It's a recent post. Um, let me pull it up here and actually just tell you. So basically, what they were trying to do was root their encrypted device, and so I started doing a little bit of research. So what the deal was they encrypted their device, and they said they would really like to not decrypt their device in order to root. Um, so I kind of struggle with this. I just tried to find some information on about it. Technically, you should be able to root your device when encrypted. However, um,
It,
it's tough.
it
Uh,
depends on the technique.
Yes, and that was the problem. I don't, without fully understanding his device and how he was encrypting it, I couldn't say. So my suggestion was to him was to decrypt, make a backup, encrypt that backup on your computer or whatever, then root your phone, put your data back on it, re-encrypt it, and then be able to use it. And he should also make a backup before he encrypts. I mentioned that to him. I told him also make a backup before you encrypt, then make another backup. So you'll have like a couple of backups. You'll have your phone backup, then you'll have your encrypted data backup, then you'll have a backup of the fresh rooted install, and then you re-encrypt and make another backup. The problem was he was having a couple of issues, and one of them could have been attributed to Windows 8.1 or whatever that is. And I haven't heard back from him yet to see what he decided to do. But have you had any experience with having the encrypted device and trying to root?
Well,
And then I also have, personally, I would think if you've got your device encrypted, why would you root? Because it's taking advantage of an exploit that could cause your data to not be safe. So, what are your thoughts on both of those?
well, yeah, you just took it out of my mouth. They're two separate things, encryption and routing. If you need your device encrypted for work or something, you should not root it. For one, the company, their software will know that you just try to root it and then it would deem you not safe. Um, Encryption is a sequence. Um, Now, when you encrypt a phone, the phone decrypts it while in use so that it can use the files. But when you restart it, it's encrypted. That's for safety. If you want to root the phone has to be off and then put it in a certain mode while off, usually connected to a wire, and files are pushed from your computer to the phone. That usually won't work while the files are encrypted because you can't write to that drive and you can't overwrite any encrypted files. So, I mean, really, uh, they're two separate things, honestly. I mean, like
And
Shane said, go ahead.
well, it depends on if you're just encrypting your data. But if you encrypt the whole phone, which I believe he was,
Hmm.
and I believe that was the main problem. But like, and I didn't mention the whole idea of to him of if your device is encrypted, that rooting it's probably not a good idea uh, either. But I just feel like encrypting your device, you're worried about safety, but in all honesty, they don't tell you how the encryption works. So like you said, if the device is encrypted while the device is turned on, it is not technically encrypted. If the police get your phone when it's turned on, they can access every file on that phone. It's only when that phone gets turned off and then turned back on does it encrypt itself.
Yep, yep. And yeah, those 3 or 4 files that's pushed through via the wire, it's onto the core memory of the phone. So it also depends on what you're trying to encrypt. There are two choices. You can encrypt your SD card, or you can encrypt the memory that's on the phone itself. If you're encrypting the memory that's on the phone itself, you must decrypt it before you try to root it because, as Shane said, you're sending the exploit from the computer to the phone on the core memory, and the exploit kicks in, and then you're activating it. You can't do any of that if the phone is encrypted. It has to be decrypted. It has to be decrypted. So yeah, Shane, um, we need more information. Mostly what
Which
model it is, what technique you're trying to use to root.
and he told me a bunch of information that I didn't include. The main thought of this was to discuss a little bit of encryption
Yeah,
and rooting at the same time, because it's not a topic that we talk about a lot, and it's probably something that we should do a little bit more of, is be a little bit more self-conscious of what we've got on our phones. Because like you said, if you work in a work environment, you may have work emails that they don't want anybody seeing. So I thought we'd bring this up, but I feel like rooting your phone and then trying to encrypt it defeats the purpose of rooting,
yeah,
because in all honesty, rooting is taking advantage of an exploit that they don't want you to take advantage of, which could bring unwanted intruders. I'm
yes,
not saying that rooting your phone will give you viruses, but it could if you weren't careful. So
yes.
you've got so much more power that you could cause some serious damage.
Yes, yes, that's the whole thing. It gives you a lot more permissions. A super suit, a super user is what's pushed over, and you can do absolutely anything to your phone. Sadly, a virus can do the same thing. So if you're downloading apps that's supposed to be paid for, but you're getting them free, and somebody had reverse engineered them with viruses, then whatever you can do on your phone that's rooted, it can do the same thing, and that's not safe in that case. Also, once again, if you have a corporate device and you're talking about rooting it, it's not going to work. I cannot put any of my corporate work email on any of my devices because they're rooted. And that's not only because of the software that they have, but just out of common sense. I don't want any of my stuff, any of my work emails, to be compromised. So I would not put it on my rooted device.
Now, with that being said, the guy that emailed me, I don't believe, because he did say if he has to decrypt, he will, but he didn't want to. So it sounds like maybe it's not a work-related thing, but more of a personal thing, which I could see a little bit more, but I still honestly feel like maybe if you want to be safe and encrypt your phone, don't root it, and vice versa. But, and I told him to try it out and let me know how it went, because I'd be more than interested to know how that worked out, and I think I might try to do a little bit of that myself, and just see how it works. But when I have the time or whatever. So I just thought I'd bring that up and kind of
Oh
give a
yeah,
little bit of time to that because we don't ever talk about encryption on here, and it's a good topic to talk about, and I think it's something people could really benefit from hearing about.
oh yeah, that's absolutely. I try. We try to be different. All of the Android and mobile tech shows are nerds talking to nerds, geeks, techies talking to techies, and that's great. But that creates I forget what it's called.
A
Basically,
restriction.
a restriction is another term I forget. Basically, you're talking to somebody that already knows about what's happening. It's kind of futile. So we try to talk about things that the normal people, the mainstream would ask about or want to know about. But the way things are going nowadays, some of the mainstream are rooting their phones. Some are encrypting. So that's a good point, and we'll definitely add that to our list of things to talk about. Speaking about mainstream people, Line Pay, the messaging app's mobile payment service, will make its global debut soon, and that is from the Catherine Shu from TechCrunch. Um, I don't use any mobile payments except for PayPal and Google Wallet. I don't have anybody on Keiko or Line or anything like that. But Shane, do you think that's still a cool thing?
I'm the same as you. I really don't trust. I don't even trust PayPal anymore. I basically just use Google Wallet so that I can buy apps on the Google Play Store. Um, if I'm going to buy something, I like Amazon Pay, which I don't know if they've got an app or not, but there's a lot of things that you can use Amazon Pay to pay for. I prefer to use that. I've been smitten a few times with PayPal and eBay, so I'm very particular about where I put that debit card or credit card. I don't want because every time it gets hacked, it's a big hassle. It's not an easy thing to deal with. So I really I would have to see what their structure is as far as protecting your data and information, what the warning signs are if you've been hacked on such, because eBay sent out an email. Well, I didn't get the email until after I was already hacked, and it didn't matter. So, I want to be alerted, right away and not 2 months down the road. They say, oh, we might have had a leak. Um, you know, so I'm always a little bit cautious when it comes to online paying stuff because I personally am, I'm worried about someone getting my information and spending all of my money before I have a chance to.
Right, right, yeah, exactly. That's not cool, and that's understandable. But to play devil's advocate, America, we are way, way behind in the mobile tech. Even I believe it was in the first movie of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. They showed the different countries being aware of what's happening. They showed England, and everybody was on their phones looking at video. When you think about the other Nokia phones, they did video chat first. When you think about now what's going on in the Asian countries, they are buying, that's not a word, they are buying and purchasing and sending money to each other via these apps years before us. And like you said, we are still not sure about that technology. We're not sure. Even though, and over in those other countries, I don't know how to say this politically correctly, it's the wild, wild west. You know, there's hackers, there's bad guys, there's everything that's happening over there. But yet, and still, they are okay with using mobile. What's the word? Mobile payments. They're okay with that because they try to be careful, like you said, and if it happens, it happens. How you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, as a person that recently has been hacked twice, the idea of being hacked yet again does not appeal to me. Because every time I do, I lose my debit card for at least a week to 10 days. So I have to carry around a big, huge wad of cash, and I got to pay for everything with cash. And in a society where we do such quick payments, that's a hassle. When I have to go into the store to get gas and then come back out and pump it, that takes a lot of time out of my day. I have to get up early in the morning to get my gas before I go to work or whatever. So that I just, like I said, I'm very cautious. Um, if they came out and they were some reputable company like Foursquare that, we know to be a company that is very, very diligent about keeping our information private and being secure, as long as they have that reputation, I'd probably be okay with trying it. The other problem is, in my area, I doubt there's a lot of people that I know that would use this. So it's probably not going to benefit me directly right away until it becomes a very large deal.
That's a good point. Those are very good points. And in connection, in harmony with that, how do we secure our accounts that do connect to our money? If you have a Gmail account that connects to your money via Google Wallet or what have you, definitely we should try some things like the two-step authentication.
Absolutely.
I have it so that I have to log into my email, but also I get a text message to my phone. So you have to know my phone number, and you have to log in as me in order to get my text message. Which now that I think about it, oh, that should be safe. And even with PayPal, you have to know my PIN code to get in before you even get to email, which they say is safe. And they're trying new technology. Pin and swipe, I believe, is the new technology they're trying with the credit cards coming up soon. Because these things are just happening so much and so often, like you said, Shane, that it's getting really bad. And they're trying to learn the new technology. But it's going to take some time. And like you said, I think America will still be not keen on these mobile micropayments that people are trying to use, or even Twitter tries, to give to us, but I don't think we're ready for it yet. Um, how about the next web article where Apple removes songs from the certain iPads? You heard about that one?
I did. To be honest, not surprised. Um, it's disheartening to think that they would purposely do that. They claimed it to be, they were worried about the songs being either pirated or not knowing what these actual songs were, or whatever the case may have been. I don't believe it, because this wasn't like someone that took an iPod and hooked it up to something like iRip or something like that, where they have got a bunch of songs and they put it on there without using iTunes. Um, these are people who bought songs, uploaded them to iTunes, um, or put it into their iTunes software and put it on their phone. They legally paid for this music either through CDs or through Amazon or someplace, and then are not able to access that music. I think that's wrong. And what they did, they didn't just so much as remove it. They removed it and then said every time you went to play that particular song, it came up with an error that said that this wasn't correct or something.
So
So they
you
went out of their way to convince you that this was whatever you had done was, a bad thing. They wanted to make sure that you didn't do it again, basically.
so you're telling me that these were not songs that was bought off of iTunes. They were songs that the person put on their
Hmm.
device separately. But because they connect to iTunes, the software, the company was able to tell that these were not songs from iTunes, and therefore they might have been pirated music.
So essentially, that's what they were claiming to the courts. Essentially, what it was, like my wife does this all the time. She still buys CDs. She's the lady that buys CDs still, and so every once in a while she rips the CDs to the computer and imports them into iTunes and puts them on her phone. And what was going on was iTunes was saying no, we're not going to allow it, because basically that's a competitor to them. They want you to buy all your, and that's what the deal was. They didn't just take it off. They tricked you into thinking that music was, not
Correct.
allowed on your iPhone or corrupt or something. So then you would go on iTunes and buy that song or album, and there you spent more money on iTunes, even though you've already paid for
That is really sad. That's
it. It's terrible.
that's I and that's what happens. If this is in fact 100% the way that it was, I'm sure there will be even more information. They do not have the right to do that.
No.
Once you buy this hardware, it should be now the person that bought the hardware and their use and how they use it. Um, That's just amazing, man. That is
Well, and
amazing and
that's
scary.
And like I said, it's not like someone used what are those? There's iPod managers that don't actually use iTunes that you can use. Like personally, I don't like iTunes installed on my machine. It slows it down. It's a heavy piece of software, so I'll install a smaller, lighter piece of software that does the same thing as iTunes that manages my iPhone, to where I can put songs and pictures and videos on there without using iTunes. And it wasn't like people were doing that. It was people who were faithful to iTunes and using iTunes, um, that just happened to have some songs from somewhere else wanted on their iPhone, and Apple removed it. And it's terrible. It is a class action lawsuit, so it's going to be a big deal. And I get the feeling that some heads are going to roll, and people are pretty upset about this because this isn't fair or correct or right at all.
Yeah, but sadly though, probably the mainstream won't even get a whiff of this information. And
No,
they
I believe it was the mainstream that caused this. Because I
okay,
know a class action lawsuit has to have so many people involved in it before it becomes a
that's
class
true.
action lawsuit.
That's
So,
true.
and I do believe I told my wife about it, and she said, "Well, then she said, well, then I might get some money back on that because she said I've had an iPhone since forever. Back when the first iPods, the little ones that just had 2 gigs on them, she had one of those back in the day.
Yeah,
So
their mantra of the hardware they sell to you is still ours is just crazy. And most people feel comfortable with Apple telling them what to do, but that's Apple telling them what to do to an extreme. That's just amazing. I did not see this Zolo Omega phone that I threw here for us to talk about. Have you had a chance to look at that link yet?
I briefly looked at that, and I was trying to remember. And I apologize. I should have read that entire article, and I didn't. Give me a second here, and I'll pull this up
Okay.
and try to refresh myself as to
Yeah.
what. I do know it's a new company, I believe, that's coming out with this. Um, let's see.
Yeah. Folks, this is the section where we look at live news and talk about what's
Yeah,
going on right now.
and apologies. I should have. I put this up to talk about, and then didn't finish reading the article. So many times I get started on an article. I'm like, oh, I need to add this before I forget, and then I completely space. So let's see. Here we are. Well, yeah.
Yeah. While you're looking for that, apparently Action Launcher 3 will be released soon. It's a paid upgrade, and it must be amazing because I get a lot of people here on Reddit just talking about the Action Launcher 3. So you want to check that out. You like launchers? Check that one out.
Okay. So this new phone, I believe, is it's really skewed. Um, Yeah, it's the cool thing about it is it's a 1280 by 720 resolution, so it's amazing. It's a pretty high. What stuck out to me, excuse me, if I can talk, is that it's a somewhat high-end phone with a dual SIM that is like let's see if I can find the prices again. Yes, 145 US dollars and 160. There's two versions. There's a 5-inch and a 5.5.
That's a good
Yeah,
price.
yeah. They are, I believe, were India. They're India phones, Indian phones. So it's RS is their currency. I'm not sure what that stands for, but it's
Right.
8,999, which equals $145 in US for their 5-inch, and then their 5.5-inch is 161.
Oh, wow.
And it'll be out by I think December 20th. But like I said, they're dual SIM, and let me just read some of the specs of the 5-inch. It's a 1280 by 720 pixels, which is amazing. It's 294 pixels per inch density, which is going to be close to Retina. I can't remember. I believe Retina is like 300 and something, so it's going to be close to the Retina display. It's powered by a 1.4 gigahertz octo-core CPU. It's got a MediaTek processor. It's got the Melee 450 MP4 CPU clocked at 600 megahertz. It's only got a gig of RAM, and then 8 gigs of internal storage.
Okay.
But it does have support for a micro SD card up to 32 gig, which I'm guessing it will accept 64 because oftentimes there's not any limits on that. They just say 32. In fact, if you look at some of AT&T stuff, it still says 32. And then it's running 4.4.
Okay, that
So,
sounds good.
and like I said, the 5.5, I don't know if it says if it's a dual, yeah, the dual SIM card. Oh, and the camera, the rear camera is an 8 megapixel, so it's not a terrible camera. It's got an auto-focusing sensor in it. It'll do 1080 pixels when recording. Then there's a 2 megapixel front-facing camera, which I believe that's standard, isn't it? I think pretty well
Yeah.
all phones are 2 megapixel front-facing cameras. Of course, it's featuring it's only USB 2.0, and it's Bluetooth 4.0, which is I think the newest version of Bluetooth. And
That's
then let's see, I was going to say there was one other thing. Oh, it uses the 3G network, which I'm not going to read the bands off because that's not going to make a lot of sense to our U.S. People. Oh, the battery, that was the other thing. 2100 mAh battery life. Basically, they're claiming up to six. Wait a minute. Oh, 656 hours on standby mode while using 3G network.
that's not bad. That's not bad. But yeah, those stats you mentioned are the stats that I've been riding for a while because I've been buying a lot of phones from Amazon, a lot of no-name Asian phones, and historically you only get a gig of memory on the phone, which really means not that much because after the operating system is on there, you might get 500 megabytes. So yeah, a SD card with that is needed. Another good
Oh
point.
no, they're saying 1 gig of RAM and 8 gigs of internal storage.
Oh,
Like the Note 3 I think has 3 gig, or the Note 4's got 3 gigs of RAM, and the Note 2's got 2 gigs of RAM. So like they're running their, it's like your computer, when you've got so much gigabytes of RAM that help your processor run fast or whatever. This is just saying it's only got 1 gig of RAM for running applications and stuff. So you'll have to clear out your applications a little bit more often.
oh, that's different. Oh, that's great. I'm actually jealous. 8 gigs on the
Internal.
phone internal memory. That's great. Another interesting point about that phone, which is quite common in non-American areas, is the dual SIM. A couple of months ago, might have been last year, a very, very well-credited reporter, now a writer of a book. I'm not going to mention his name. He's a good guy. He asked me, why was I trumpeting dual SIM cards? I'm in America. And I tried to explain to him because at that time, Google Voice was not really that good or stable. I needed a phone with two SIMs. So one SIM card was my work SIM card, my work phone number. The other SIM card, of course, was my personal SIM card, my personal phone number. So to have both of those in one phone was amazing. Of course, before Google Voice came about and it got really well. Of course, now with Google Voice, you can have your Google number and you can install Google Voice, the application, and then Hangouts, and put that on your work phone and set it so that you can get personal calls from your phone number on Google Voice as well as your work phone. And that's incredible in its own right, software-wise. But before that got popular and or stable, dual SIM phones, man, that was the way to go.
Well, and overseas, I think dual SIM is still pretty popular. I
Hmm.
think America's the only place that doesn't. They operate on a lot of different bands over there. So if you travel throughout Europe, you may have to use two different SIM cards to make it all the way across.
Hmm.
Uh, They did mention that they are running Hive. It's Android, but it's called Hive. It's a scan or whatever you want to call it. Um, but honestly, it looks really good. I'm really impressed with what I've seen thus far. Um, I personally would love to get my hands on one of these. I don't know if they're going to ever be available to where we can get them in the U.S. or not, but I'd love to get my hands on one and play with it because it looks like a good phone.
Yeah, it's probably on Amazon. I just looked here, and from a Wired article, Clint Finley. This is from the third, a couple of days ago. Node.js. I've seen that a lot in the on the internet. Node.js, a popular and influential tool for building and running modern internet services, has split in two. So you might want to look into that if you were building your latest app or software using Node.js. There's now two forks on that, two versions. Looking at that. You got anything else happening, Shane?
I did do a quick search today for those of you who are developers out there. That Google is working on some new code that allows you to take your Java code and convert it to what is it? It's not is it Visual C for iOS?
Oh,
Um,
Objective.
Objective C. Um, it's going to allow you to convert it to Objective C, so that way you can write your Android app and then convert it to an iOS app, essentially. I believe that you will need to know a little bit of programming to kind of, once it's in the iOS um,
Environment.
environment, you may have to change a few settings of different things. And then, of course, it has to be approved by the App Store first. But it sounds like a great way for those who don't have the time to learn Objective C to be able to get their apps on multiple platforms.
Yeah, that sounds great, but they're still not connecting the dots. I actually had to buy a virtual Mac in order to do my coding for my Game Salad apps because Apple will not let you sign your application or even let you upload pictures or video to the App Store with your app unless you use an Apple product. It's ridiculous. It's really, really sad that there's so I don't know what to call it maniacal. I don't that you have to use their stuff to sell something on their app store. I mean, it's not harming the whole ethos, but it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, what if people who can't afford a Mac wants to write for them? Too bad, I guess. You really have to break the bank, buy a Mac device, and then be able to code. I mean, I'm complaining, but hey, I did it because there's no other
Yeah, and I
choice.
think
But
the people that are going to use this isn't going to be your normal person. So the people that are going to use this new conversion software stuff for their apps are going to know how to run a virtual machine and be able to do that with no problems. Just like you set up a virtual machine and probably 15 minutes had it all going.
yeah, well,
You know,
actually, yeah, it doesn't work with a virtual machine. You
oh,
have to
it's not a
have
virtual machine.
no, you have to have app physical hardware. So I am remoted into a app desktop somewhere, a Mac desktop somewhere, because it has to have the physical hardware also. I guess they check and they verify. You have to use Xcode, and I guess it verifies that you're actually on a Mac and not a virtual machine. It's
So did you have to pay for this virtual machine? Is that what you're doing? Is you
I
basically
am
pay for a space on that
I am
hardware?
paying I am paying for space in this hardware. I can't even call it a virtual machine unless it is a virtual machine that happens to be on a Mac. It feels like I'm just remoting into a
An
Mac.
actual Mac.
Yeah. So, like you said though, because
It
Google,
seems silly, but I guess it's all because they want their stuff all closed off
yeah,
and protected.
yeah, and I forgot years ago they did say that Google, when you start there, you get a choice as to what you want to, what kind of hardware they'll buy for you, an Apple device, Linux, Windows, what have you. And I'm almost sure most of them use Apple there because they love Apple. That's what I heard. Google loves Apple. So until the Chromebook came out, I suppose.
which the Chromebooks are awesome. And I would like to get in touch with some Chrome web app developers myself and talk to them about getting their apps to the Play Store because they have some pretty awesome apps that you can't get anywhere but the Play Store
Okay.
or
Oh,
but the Chrome Store. Excuse me.
okay. Another thing I just posted on Reddit is per Fandroid.com. Lollipop on a 2013 Moto G is here. So I'm going to grab my son's Moto G later on tonight, tomorrow, and see if the update is available for him. That'd be great, you know. Lollipop on the Moto
Share
G.
some video and
Oh,
pictures where
yeah,
some of us are still out here that haven't got it yet
yeah,
or
definitely,
any of our phones.
definitely. All right, so look at it. On the dot, it is now 11:30. So we have had meaningful conversation for about 60 minutes about mobile technology. Thanks everybody for listening. Those who are listening, it says 0 viewers, but I know you're listening. You're listening, and
And if you want to join us live, we don't always do it at the same time, but you can hit us up on either one of our websites
yes,
or
I put our Twitter handles in the comments this time too.
hit us up on Twitter, usually on a Thursday or a Friday, and say what time is the podcast. We'll tell you. You can join live. You can ask us tons of questions. At this point, we'll probably answer just about anything but love questions because we don't want to get into that business. No,
Not enough time. Not enough time.
try to keep it mobile related or at least tech related because we're both pretty familiar with most tech out there. Um, we just prefer mobile tech, but um, I would love to get some people asking some live questions. That would make this so fun, and I think it'd be a lot of fun for you guys as well.
Absolutely, you get your answer right on the spot.
From two brilliant mobile tech people.
Right. Cool. Thanks for that plug. So once again, as you can see in our lower thirds, those are our websites. I'm Anthony F. MobileTechie.com. This is Shane, aka Stiggy from Android Inc. No, that's not right. FanatixInc.com. I'm talking so I can't see your lower third. FanatixInc.com, as well as our Twitter handles will be in the comments. So thanks for listening. And this is Mobile Tech Fanatics. We're out.